Good, isn't he? I'm telling you. I work for a madman. Anyway, Jeremy and I have worked together for several years. In fact, we were together for about 10 years at Speakercraft and had the opportunity to not only get to know each other, but get to know how this entire industry works. One of the challenges that we run into in this business is that people think they're in a technology business. We're not. We're in a people business. And we learned that a long time ago. Now, if the product isn't right, if the product doesn't work, nobody's going to buy it a second time. So the product has to be correct. That's important. But how we handle the people that we work with is absolutely critical. So when we looked at the design or redesign of the InWall in-ceiling product, we looked at it with the people that are involved in mind. Now, first of all, we put the engineers together. We gave them a blank sheet of paper and we said, all right, you go do whatever you think makes sense. I want you to address all the problems that you run into year after year after year after year and figure out how you can possibly make that product better for everybody concerned. So they did. Engineers get really excited about that kind of stuff. When you tell an engineer to go crazy, they usually do. And that's exactly what they did. Now, the couple of things we wanted to address. Number one, in-ceiling and in-wall loudspeakers typically suffer from bass response, which happens to be the case. They also suffer from the overall dispersion characteristic of the speaker. A big problem when you are designing loudspeakers that are going to go in a particular spot and you really can't control where that spot is. How many times do these people go out and create an installation and they are hindered by all kinds of objects that are in the ceiling or in the walls, so they can't put the speaker where they want? So those are the two things we wanted to go after. Now at Speakercraft, when we built speakers, we built a nice 6.5-inch two-way. That was the most popular thing we could make. 6.5 inches, two-way loudspeaker, and we made it pivot. Then we said, well, if a 6 is good, an 8's better, right? So we made an 8-inch speaker, and everybody went, aha, much better, deeper bass, plays louder, does what it's supposed to do. Of course, being the people we are, said if 8 is good, 10's fantastic, and so we built a 10-inch speaker. All the men said, oh, yes. You know what all the women said? No way, I'm not putting that manhole cover in my ceiling. It's not going to happen. It's too big, it's too huge, takes up too much space. So we said, enough of that. How are we going to make more bass out of this without making it larger? So the engineers said, well, let's do this. If a 6-inch is okay, and in fact an 8-inch is okay, what if we were to take the part that makes this speaker so big, which is the assembly that allows that entire woofer to pivot? We'll take that and we'll lock the woofer down and just pivot a mid-range and tweeter on top of it. If you look at this speaker here, and I will pull it out of the assembly so you can see it, that's a 6-inch, and it is exactly the same size as the 8-inch three-way. So, what have we done? We can put an 8-inch inside a hole that is meant for a 6.5-inch speaker. That wouldn't be a big deal. What's really a big deal is we can put a 10-inch in the same hole as everybody else's 8-inch speaker. Okay, what does all this mean? Well, when I go from 6 inches to 8 inches, I gain 40% in the cone area of the woofer. When I go from an 8-inch to a 10-inch, I gain another 60% in the cone area of the woofer. Now, being men, we all say, bigger is better, thank you very much. However, why is it better? Not because you can make more bass, but because it becomes much more efficient. And we can use that efficiency any way we want. In this case, we made the 8 and the 10 go much deeper in bass. We could make more of the same bass, that would be fine. But to make this speaker play deeper so that it doesn't sound like a speaker that goes in the ceiling would change the way people look at an in-ceiling speaker. It's exactly what happened when we took it to the show at CEDIA. We actually had a live demo there. We had people walk into the room. First response they had when we played the 10-inch loudspeakers for them was, where's the subwoofer? And then we would say, well, there is no subwoofer. And then they would coyly walk along the wall like this, pounding on the wall to find out where we had snuck the subwoofer into the room. That was the first thing that we did. So we dealt with the deal that, or the concern of not enough deep bass. Second thing was dispersion. We actually have a tweeter that was designed to be able to increase the dispersion of the entire speaker, and this is how it works. Normally, a tweeter, a dome tweeter, is suspended around the outside edge. So the speaker moves up and down, the suspension is here. The problem with that is, as this begins to get louder, or play, in this case, deeper, that tweeter begins to rock, and oftentimes will even rub up against the magnet on the inside of the outside of the voice coil. So what we did was we went ahead and suspended it here, and then suspended it at the dead center. When you get a chance, you can come up and look at these and see that there's a little dimple in the top of the tweeter. So actually we're suspending it in two different positions. What that does It allows the tweeter to play louder, and it allows it to play deeper. Now, why is deeper important for a tweeter? Because the lower I can cross the tweeter off to the mid-range or the woofer, the greater overall dispersion I get. And if you'd like to talk about the physics of how that happens, I can explain it to you. Don't like to do that during a press conference, but the fact is that it does exactly that. It creates greater dispersion. Also, the fact that we are only pivoting the mid and the tweeter up here allows us to pivot further than we would if we had to pivot the entire assembly. Why is this important? Because, once again, installers don't get to choose where they're going to put that speaker in the ceiling oftentimes, so the greater flexibility you have in the pivot, the easier it is for them when they do the installation. Now, we also wanted to save them a lot of time in the process, and we created what's referred to as the zip clip mounting system. And this is how it works. There is a ring that sits here, and this ring goes into the ceiling. If you can imagine it, if you can imagine it as such, the ring is popped into the ceiling. It actually slides up into the ceiling like so. These 4 clips that are on the outside are like a zip tie. You reach up inside and pull them into place. That locks this ring into position. No tools involved. So you take this ring, up you go, boom. Then you take the speaker assembly, whichever one you choose, and you slide it up. Sorry, stop it. I'll stand over here and do this. No, here we go. There we go. Bring that down a little bit, thank you. So now it's simply inserted into the ring and turned about 2 degrees, and it locks the speaker in place. Now there's a huge advantage to this. Specifically in this situation, as I showed you before, the 6-inch and the 8-inch speakers fit in exactly the same size hole. That means that I've got 10 speakers, all of these on these top 2 rows, that can all fit into that same ring. Why is that important? Because if you choose to, you can pop the ring in, put a grill over the top of it, and install the speaker later. When you've had a chance to discuss with the homeowner, oh, by the way, I noticed in your bedroom, you said you spend a lot of time in there. We actually put 5.1 in there so you can watch movies. My guess is you may want a better speaker up there than the inexpensive speaker we had originally specified. Better yet, if I put just the ring and the grill in place because the house is not secured, now nobody walks away with the speaker. You understand that, how easy that is? Custom installers went crazy. Not only that, it's so quick and easy to put this in that I've closed entire dealerships because their installers said, I don't care what you do, you're just not buying anything but this from now on. And literally that's been the response. They love the way that the product goes in. So it's very unique in the way that it installs, it's unique in the way that it was designed, and we could go into a whole series of discussions, little, infinitesimal things, like the surround itself. One of the challenges you have with any woofer in the world is that you end up with frequencies between about 700 and 1400 cycles that run up and down, they resonate up and down the woofer surface. You have the ability with this particular surround for the frequencies to run up the woofer wall and literally fall off into this surround and be dissipated so that they're not there any longer. A little change that makes a big difference in the way the speakers sound. So anyway, that would be the Director Series. We have, as I said, 5 6-inch versions, 5 8-inch versions, and 3 10-inch versions. You can look at those when I am finished. Here at the show, we are showing off our thin fit product. The European market suffers in many areas from the challenge of being far too deep. These are only 70 millimeters deep. It's a steel enclosure. It's ported out the front. 2 of the drivers are woofers, 2 of the drivers are mid-ranges, and then the tweeter. You have that capability, and we make 2 versions of this with multiple drivers like this, and we also make one very similar to this one right here that is in that same depth. We also reinvented the concept of the InWall speaker as well, going after different driver designs and so forth to be able to create a higher performance loudspeaker in this application, but also change the way we mounted these as well. Instead of a typical dog leg where you have to run a screw gun and pull that dog forward to lock the speaker into place, these are all spring loaded. So when you put the speaker in the wall, you can use a thumbnail and turn the screw on the front 1/4 turn, and this locks up against the drywall in the back. So very, very simple. If you want to remove it, you turn it back 1/4 of a turn, and it folds back in inside. The only thing is, if you're going to reinstall it, you have to reload them again so that it's prepared. So everything that we've done and everything that you'll see here in the booth has been focused on 2 things. 1, to be able to get the greatest sound performance we can get, and 2, obviously to be able to make it as easy as possible for the installer to do what it is that we do. I will promise you, however, that what really makes the company different is not just the product. As Jeremy mentioned, it's the way that we treat the people that we deal with, and that's the most important. I'm grateful that you've come. Thank you very much. We have literature here for you. If you've got the flash drive, we have the press kit on the flash drive. Is there anyone that has any questions? You'd like one of each back up the truck? We'll take you right now. Not a